Fat loss is super simple, but these days, so many people overcomplicate it, which leads to frustration, leads to burnout. And so in today's video, I wanna give you 3 simple things that you need to do to lose fat both now and keep it off in the future. I guarantee at least one of these things you've probably never heard about, or at least don't have a full understanding of yet. But in today's video, we're gonna fix all that. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the 3 key things you need to do to keep fat loss simple. The first thing you want to get right when it comes to fat loss is what I call your movement strategy. It's part of our 3M system, as we call it here at the True Transformation. And movements just simply refers to literally the movement you do all day long. Fat loss at the very core comes down to a simple fact that you have to burn more energy via calories than you consume via food. So that energy expenditure that you put out every day typically comes from, number 1, your basal metabolic rate. This is just the energy your body requires to function, to live, to think, to breathe, basically. And then on top of that is whatever activity you do throughout the day. So it's really, really hard to change your BMR. Over time, you can change your BMR by adding muscle, losing body fat, and just being a healthy, active individual. But the fastest way to see your caloric expenditure go up is to have a movement strategy. So to keep it really simple, as promised in the beginning, we want to start tracking our movement every day. Fastest way to do that is to have some kind of wearable device. I just use a Garmin. You could use a Fitbit. You can use a lot of different wearables out there that track your steps, but we want to set a step goal. So how do we set a step goal? Well, the first thing we want to do is for a few days track our normal activity. Let's see where we are, right? Because if you're already walking, for example, 3,000 steps a day or 4,000 steps a day, we don't want to like triple that and go for some crazy high number that you're not going to be able to obtain, and you're going to feel really burnt out really quick. So I typically like to increase my average daily steps to start by about 20%. So if I'm averaging about 5,000 steps per day, I'll bump that up to about 6,000 steps per day. Once I'm able to maintain that for a couple days, then I'll increase it, so on and so forth, until I'm around 10 to 12,000 steps per day. That's, for me at least, and the clients I work with, the bread and butter zone for consistent fat loss, because you're burning a decent amount of calories on top of your BMR, and it's gonna be easier overall because you'll be able to eat a decent amount while still losing fat. So step number 1 is get your movement right. Now, if you don't like walking and you prefer something like the bike, that's totally fine. Typically, I say for every 30 minutes on the bike or elliptical or step mill, something that's not necessarily walking, you're walking about 3,000 steps. So that's just my rule of thumb. So if I do 30 minutes on the bike, that gives me about 3,000 steps for the day to add to whatever I do just by walking around. But break it up however you want. Do a 30-minute walk once a day with a couple little short walks throughout the day. At the end of the day, what's most important is that you hit your step goal on a consistent basis. Okay, step number 2 is what we call muscle. It's important that we don't just go all in on cardio and forget that we worked really hard to build a certain amount of muscle that you already have or that you've added over the years. Muscle is your friend when it comes to fat loss because it's very metabolically demanding. Basically, all that means is muscle requires a decent amount of calories to basically exist on the body. The body's gonna burn more calories when it holds more muscle. Plus, you don't wanna have that, let's call it skinny fat physique as you drop weight. A lot of guys experience this when they drop a lot of weight for the first time. They were thinking, man, I'm carrying a decent amount of muscle. And then throughout the fat loss process, they ignore their training, or they switch to like super light, super high rep circuit training thinking, oh, I must be burning tons of calories because I'm sweating more. That's just not the case. Whatever you did to build the muscle, at very worst, you want to keep doing that. Typically what I recommend for guys, which you may not have heard before, and this is why I wanted you to watch this entire video, because this tip might benefit you in a big way. Typically what I recommend for guys is to actually go into a strength building phase as they lean down. Now, this doesn't mean powerlifting and maxing out on the bench press or anything crazy like that. It just means sticking to a little bit lower reps than what you might have expected, probably anywhere in the range of 5 to 8 reps, so that you keep your strength at a bare minimum, but probably add strength over time. This is gonna send a signal to your brain that, hey, you need to hold on to the muscle that you have. So that way, as you lean down and you start to chisel out your physique, you actually look really good, right? So the leaner you get, the bigger, the more impressive you look, and the more confident you feel, because you're keeping the muscle and the strength that you work so hard to build leading up to your cut. Now, if you're just starting out and you're like, yeah, I've actually never worked out consistently, well, you're in for some good luck, because you're probably going to experience what I call newbie gains. And this is where your body responds really quickly early on to good training, right? So if you have the right program in place, you're eating better, which we'll talk about in point number 3, and you're moving enough, you're really going to notice that your body adds some muscle and loses fat almost simultaneously throughout the leaning down process. So how many days should you lift? My recommendation at a bare minimum is 2, right? So 2 days a week, come in the gym, train upper body one day, train lower body the next. Or you could do 2 full body workouts where you're training pretty much every body part twice a week. You could split it up however you want. Most of my guys train anywhere from 2 to 4 days per week. It's rare these days that I work with a busy guy who can train 5 days a week, but it does happen. 6 days a week is reserved for people who have so much time on their hands and just need to be in the gym for mental health reasons almost every day. So that's point number 2. Once again, we're keeping it simple. We don't need to go and do some crazy CrossFit workout or some crazy science-based, detailed, dialed-in training program. Sure, that might work for some of you, but to just keep fat loss simple, train 2 to 4 days a week, keep your strength, make sure you hit every body part for at least a couple sets, and I promise you, you're gonna be well ahead of the fat loss game. Step number 3 is your nutrition. We call it meals inside of the 3M system, but it's really simple when you break it down. The only 2 things that I want you to worry about when you start out and you're losing fat is total calories and protein. You get those 2 things right, you're gonna be well on your way to losing weight, getting healthy, feeling, looking, and performing your best. So, of course, there is bad news. And the bad news is you have to track your food. Not forever, but just for a period of time, so you get at least the knowledge required and the numbers required, the data, to know where you are. If you're just guessing and thinking, yeah, I think I'm eating the right amount of calories, I'm not sure, I think I'm close, you're probably gonna be in for a world of frustration. You might get lucky, of course. There are people out there who never track food, who lose a ton of weight, but it's just so much easier. You're gonna sleep so much better at night knowing that you're hitting the exact amount of calories required to lose the weight you wanna lose. But it's not just about calories. You do need to be aware of the type of food you're eating and the quality of food you're eating. So once again, protein is your next thing. Protein is the building block for muscle. It does so much for your health, and it's very satiating. It does a lot of things for the body, but it also is really hard for the body to utilize as fat. So if all you're eating is carbs and fats, the body's just getting fuel. It's not getting the actual building blocks, the foundation of the house. Carbs and fats are important, and we do track those at some point, especially if you join our program, which, by the way, I forgot to mention earlier in the video, if you're interested in a program that will help you lose weight, help you get in the best shape of your life without sacrificing your family life, without sacrificing your work life, and you want to become a champion when it comes to your health and fitness, you can learn all about our program in the description of this video or in the first comment of this video below. Check it out, fill out a quick survey, and we'll see if we can help you. But that being said, everybody who comes in our doors starts with knowing how many calories they need to eat, how much protein they need to eat, and then we build out a meal system that works with the meals you like to eat, right? It's not enough to just have your calories and protein dialed in. You need to actually enjoy the foods that you're consuming. Otherwise, it's gonna be a rough road. And I don't mean enjoy like we enjoy a piece of carrot cake or a pizza all the time. We can make unhealthy foods a little bit healthier using a little bit better ingredients, but we can also just make better choices when we eat out at restaurants, when we go out to date nights or we have birthday parties for our kids. It's all about the choices that we make. And I promise you, you can live your life just like most of the normal people out there, not feeling deprived, being able to enjoy the finer things in life while still losing weight if you have the right meal setup. So before I leave you today and give you some advice to move forward, I want to give you just a simple framework for finding your calories. I'm going to give you a range to start with, and this will get you on the right path. If you're trying to lose weight, the best bet is to take your goal weight. So if you are 230 pounds and you want to be 200 pounds, 200 is your goal weight, multiply 200 by 10 to 12. That's going to give you 2,000 to 2,400 calories. That's a great starting range. I can't promise you that this is perfectly accurate. There's a lot of variations, there's a lot of individual requirements to build out a custom plan, but at least this gets you on the right track. For protein, it's really simple. Take your goal body weight, multiply it by 1, and And that's how many grams of protein per day we want to aim for. You're not always going to be perfect. You're not always going to get there. You might be under some days, maybe a little bit over some days. Ideally, we're just within range, 10% or so most days. You get those two things right, I promise you fat loss is going to be incredibly simple. If you're interested in getting more custom, you need more guidance, or you just simply need accountability, you need to get skin in the game, well, I've been at this game for almost 20 years, worked with thousands of clients just like you, busy people who have a lot on their plate, who just don't want to give up all the things they value, their family, their work, their social life, in order to get in shape. Well, we have a system that you don't have to give up any of that, and you'll still get in the best shape of your life. So if you want to learn more about that, go to the link in the description of the video, check out the first comment, I have the link there too. Fill out just a very quick survey and we'll take it from there. I hope this video was helpful in understanding why fat loss is so simple. Do not complicate it. Keep it simple. The genius of fat loss is in the simplicity of it. Until next time, my name's Josiah. Life moves fast. Make it count. I'll talk to you in the next video. Peace.